The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
With Julian Sayin at quarterback, Ohio State can stick to the formula.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
One thing we have grown accustomed to with Ryan Day leading the Buckeyes is that the quarterback is going to put a premium on throwing the football and being able to make all the throws, being consistent, having a command of the offense, and being in control when they're on the field. Ryan Day doesn't really push having a dual threat quarterback. Now, he's had dual threat quarterbacks and Fields and Howard. However, they haven't really utilized their legs. They have been guys that have done the damage with their arms. And for Sayin this year, he is the quarterback on the team that gives the Buckeyes the best opportunity to stick to the winning formula. Be an accurate passer, being able to be poised in the pocket, to get the ball out quickly and accurately over and over and over again. That guy is Sayin, and he's not going to try and reinvent anything this year. He is just going to stick to the formula that Ryan Day has already laid out throughout his previous years leading the Buckeyes. And while Sayin is QB1, he is just following in the footsteps of previous quarterbacks so that he can keep Ohio State's offense to be one of the best in the country. And I believe Sayin's a guy. I mean, we have said that. We had an instant reaction show yesterday that came out as soon as Ryan Day named the announcement. That show was published because that is some big boy news. You got to realize that when Ryan Day says you're the starting quarterback, there's a big old X on your back, but also the pressure is on. As if there wasn't pressure previously, the pressure is ramped up as high as it can go because all eyes are on you. Think about Justin Fields in 2019 when he transferred from Georgia to Ohio State. Got a little homesick when he first got to campus, talked to his dad, talked to people in the circle. He figured everything out and got to be able to hang out with his teammates a little bit more and really got acclimated to Ohio State's way of things pretty quickly. But when Fields got to Ohio State, everyone knew he was a freaky athlete. I mean, one of those guys you dream of or that you may put in a makeup, in a creative player, in a college football video game. That was Justin Fields. Fast young man. But when he got to Ohio State, he didn't try to tap into his legs. No, he utilized his arm and put a premium on accuracy, arm strength, arm talent, getting the ball out quick. Now, while Fields did hold on to the ball a little bit too long, not a little bit too long, he held on to the ball too long, Fields was still the right man for the job, and he was still a guy that was a lot of fun to watch. He was a top-tier quarterback of the sport while he was in Columbus. Think to C.J. Stroud. Stroud was not the same type of athlete as Justin Fields. Stroud could utilize his legs to move the ball. He did, I believe, score a 50-plus yard rushing touchdown against Michigan State the year before he got the title of QB1. But while Stroud had the ability to move a little bit and be able to move and be somewhat of a dual threat quarterback, Fields was a ball placement specialist. And that's a phrase he gave himself. I don't know if it came from him or if someone gave that title to him. I heard it first from Stroud's mouth. A ball placement specialist. That was C.J. Stroud. Howard, McCord. Now, McCord is not a dual threat, but he can still move a little bit. Howard can't run like a deer. But Ryan Day said, we don't need that. We need you to sling this ball around all around the yard. And that's what he did. Well, Quinten Holtz is a dual threat, and I think the offense would have been a little bit different, and he would have been more of a wild card because you would have had to cater an offense and tailor it to Quinten Holtz's skill set, which you don't normally do at Ohio State if you're a dual threat guy. If you're a dual threat guy, you dial down the legs, you crank up the arm talent, and you let things fall where they are going to fall. For Sayin, you don't have to reinvent anything. And think about how Jeremiah Smith is going to feel right now, knowing Sayin is a starting quarterback. where a year ago he had Will Howard, a fifth-year quarterback in college, did a lot of big things, won a national championship, won a Big 12 title before that. I mean, Will Howard won some titles and won some trophies, but Will Howard and Jeremiah Smith had a special connection. Julian Sayin and Cardell Tate and Brandon Innes have a special connection already in practice. Max Clare is a weapon. I'm going to talk more about him in the very next segment in regards to some depth chart clarity that Ryan provided just a day ago. I think for this offense, from your quarterback, you don't look at Ohio State and think dual threat guy. Oh, Justin Fields has a little freakish athletic ability. Let's go ahead and tap into his legs. No, it's all about the arm talent, accuracy, putting the ball where it needs to be every single time. That is what Ryan Day needs. While there is a new offensive coordinator in Brian Hartline, Ryan Day is going to say over and over and over, the Buckeyes are running Ohio State's offense. They're not doing something different to run Brian Hartline's offense. A year ago when Chip Kelly came in, yes, there was some creativity, but it was still Ohio State's offense with Chip Kelly's flair added to it. It wasn't Chip Kelly's offense coming in and learning everything new, which allows Sayin to be at Ohio State and not have to learn a whole bunch of new terminology and not have to go things a little bit differently and not try to reinvent something. He's simply following the path that had been laid out before him. But what's special about Sayin is a big reason why last year was so great for Ohio State and the Buckeyes won the national championship is because of Judkins and Henderson toting the rock like they did, to the tune that both of those guys ran for over 1,000 yards in the Buckeyes national championship winning season. For Peoples and Donaldson, I am not going to sit up here and say that both of them are going to eclipse the 1,000-yard mark. That would be great. That would be huge. I'm not going to sit up here and say that. I will say this, though. Sayin can lean on those guys behind him in number 20 and number 12. He can lean on them, put the ball in their belly, and let that thing ride, because those two guys are going to make Sayin's job easier. Think back to Justin Fields' first year. Comes to Ohio State, redshirt freshman, thought he was going to be the guy in Athens. No, they leaned into Jake Fromm, and I completely understand why they made that decision. But Fields comes in. J.K. Dobbins is right behind him. He wasn't asked to do everything. All he had to do was follow the leader, which was Ryan Day, but also allow Ryan Day's creativity and the flow of the offense to help Justin Fields be the best quarterback he can be. And behind him was one guy that ran for 2,000 yards in J.K. Dobbins. So a year ago, Will Howard, 3,000-yard passer, maybe even over 4,000 yards. I don't have his exact number in my head, but I do know Henderson and Judkins combined for 2,000 yards. So those two guys eclipsed the 2,000-yard mark together. Dobbins did it by himself. So it doesn't matter if one guy does it or two guys do it. If you have two guys in your backfield that can tote the rock and move the ball on the ground over and over and over, it's going to make the quarterback's job a whole lot easier. So for Sayin, he's got to feel good about just following the leader, following the path that's already been laid out before him, trusting the guys behind him that he's going to put the ball to them so they can tote the rock and make his job easier by getting quality yards in the ground. But you still got to trust the five guys up front. In 2019, what did you have? A really good, solid offensive line. Last year, what did you have? Even with some moving parts, a solid offensive line. This year, you're not sure where the offensive line is going to be, but you believe that Ryan Day is going to figure things out, that the offensive line is going to be solid, which is another reason why Sayin ain't got to reinvent nothing. Just follow Day's path that's already been laid out and let the chips fall where they may.
Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, on drinks, on merch, on a bigger group if you want. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer it gets to first pitch. And they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. Gametime has last minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matches. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price, guaranteed.
The Red Raiders down a running back for the year.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As you may have seen by now, it's bad news for Texas Tech. We knew adversity would strike. It has already in the form of a running back gone for the year. Quinten Joyner is going to be lost for the 2025 season. The man that most expected to lead that group of ball carriers, Chris. So we'll discuss the fallout and obviously the impact of that, not only on that group, but the team at large, the future to a degree for Quinten, and essentially how we can process now what is nothing other than really bad news for Texas Tech ahead of the season.
Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, I mean, this is part of the sport. It's a game of attrition. We know all that. He was what I felt like was the best total package of where this was going to go, and lead that committee, if you will, that I think they had talked about. And I'm just reminded of many of the conversations we had as we were wrapping up spring football. Would you go get another running back to replace Cameron Valdez? And I think they felt really good about the four guys they've got, because I think Adam Hill has been a bright spot in camp. I think he's got some, something to him. He's got some size to him, but also would tell you that it wouldn't have shocked me at all if they moved him to linebacker. He's just kind of guy. He's one of those, just like Jacob Rodriguez used to be a quarterback and now he's a linebacker. I mean, there's just certain guys that I think you could kind of move around a little bit. So long term, because they talked about that with Adam Hill. Bottom line is you've got 3 running backs on the roster right now for the rest of the year. That's what's listed. Does it stay that way? Do you move somebody over there? There's so many layers of this, but it makes me wonder, you're going to run as much 2-back stuff. You going to your short yardage concerns that we've kind of been wondering about. I think that is much more of a reason to be kind of wondering about that now than before. Do you involve Jacoby Williams in the slot still or in the return game? I don't know. I might bubble wrap him, for the foreseeable future, because and it's not about like this is the part that sucks. And over there, they're probably handling this fine. Like, hey man, this is just part of it. Like, we'll figure it out, but there's so many layers and dynamics to this that, like, I'm not saying that you just throw everything out that you were planning on doing, but it does make you wonder, are you going to be as good in short yardage? Like when you get to the end of a game, who gets the carries just to milk the clock, or to, do you have enough bodies at that position? Can you use some of your running backs in other ways like you had planned on doing? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we can keep going here, but yeah, this is, and I just hate it for Quinten. I think he had come here wanting to get back to Texas and really being a part of things, and was excited about the challenge. I think he's been on some NFL stuff this summer. Like, man, I thought we'd get him for a couple of years because he's just a sophomore. And so I guess that's the silver lining, is that maybe he'll be here longer than you would have previously thought. Maybe you get him this year, then maybe 2 more. It just depends on, what this is all going to look like. But damn, man, I was really ready to see what this looked like with all the different options you had and the depth that you had. And now you don't, it's one of the problemed positions on the team. It's
no other way to spin it. Yep.
Yeah. It's not lack of talent. Jacoby and Cam are going to be fine. Most from the outside won't know it. But the problem is, what does this look like as you go? What happens if one of those guys goes down? Now what happens? There's all, because this is what I mean, Taj Brooks was as durable as anybody, and he didn't play every game last year. And what happened in that game? I mean, it's just like there's. I'm not trying to, it's not doomsday or anything, but it's
like
just
you're coming at me. I'm not answering these questions. What happens if another one goes down? What happened? That got me sweating under the collar right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it like how they would be looking at it from well, we don't need to major in some of these things. I'd be willing to bet you at face value, I bet you end up throwing the ball more than you previously thought you were going to.
I was about to say, I'm surprised we hadn't mentioned the name Baron Morton yet among those impacted. Maybe the most.
Yep, I bet you do.
It's kind of hard to say the most because now the other two guys are going to be front and center, obviously. But as much as anyone, impacting what you can do offensively. It's kind of scary. It's always going to be scary when you're looking for a guy who hadn't done it before to step up and take on that kind of role. But it is also just part of the natural progress. So it's not the most terrifying thing that you've ever had to endure. But there was that Taj Brooks security blanket, and man, it was warm. Oh, it was a warm blanket. And you thought, in a way, even though he's a newcomer, so it didn't feel exactly the same, you felt like you had seen somebody really do it in a previous stop at USC and Quinten Joyner. And so there was a bit of a layer of protection there as well before just turning over the keys. And like you said, who knows what could happen as far as guys in that group or, moved around or added or whatever it may be. So we'll wait and see, but it's not the news you wanted to be processing midway through August. So hate it for Quinten. Certainly. I hope there's still going to be a future together with him as a Red Raider, and we get to see him in a Tech uniform actually toting the rock someday. But the bad news is it's going to be several days, many days till we have that opportunity with that type of injury. So I guess, based on what Coach McGuire was saying about contact, leaving the weekend, this is something that occurred going back to the weekend. I know there can be some funny things happen with this contact or non-contact kind of injury, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, based on the timing, that's what I would surmise. Yeah, because I don't think anybody. I mean, sometimes guys just, it can be a non-contact injury and it just happens. It's just. I think Dylan Spencer got hurt that way at the beginning of August a year ago with his knee. There wasn't anything really going on. It's just like it moved wrong and it didn't cooperate, and it's like, oh no, we got a problem here. So, but I would surmise that it was probably in based on the timing and everything. But who knows? It's one of those things where, but like it's crazy because if you look at the roster. Printed online, wherever you want to go look, there are 4 names listed with RB next to them. And now one of those is out for the year. Because theoretically, you lost Taj and Cameron Valdez last year, and you really just replaced them with Quinten Joyner. So it's like you graduated one, a guy, medically retired or whatever, and then his replacement, and those are not going to factor into the season. If you'd have known what you knew, you absolutely would have brought in another running back just for insurance purposes, kind of like a Mitch Griffiths type, But so what now? I don't think you will only go at it with 3 running backs. I don't believe that. Which leads my mind to wonder a bit. I think the closest thing I can give to you that would be a legitimate option, and it's tricky because like you brought him in to do something different, is like a Roy Alexander. Roy Alexander was a high school running back. He had 8 touchdowns. He's 5'11", 200. He's built for it. He's been a slot receiver all this time and a returner and all these things. Not that he would be a full-time running back, but I could see him easing some of the load there. But because there's the guy that you need, here in a couple of weeks, it may be 42-0 at halftime. I don't know, or 42-0 in the third quarter. You're going to get out there and you're going to be like, okay, let's go run our offense, but you're going to hand the ball off to somebody in a meaningless game. And you're not going to want to put them in harm's way. And Roy Alexander doesn't really fix that part of it. Like you need somebody that you're developing. And maybe Adam Hill is this guy. Maybe he'll get more than Albany's finest will get more carry. Feed him till he burps. I don't know, but so there's just that aspect of it too. You need a fourth guy, I guess is what I'm saying. But I wanted Quinten Joyner to be a part of this group. I was very excited about him. This was a big time addition. I mean, for the love, man, he was about to go to Ohio State on a visit, and you got him to stay here. I mean, this was a big piece of what you were hoping to do on offense, and theoretically, your Taj Brooks replacement. We're not going to get to see it, at least this year.
Sounds like you're saying tryouts. Just tell the natives where to show up, and let's see who can carry it. I mean, it's going to be some filler time, boys. A gap against Arkansas Pine Bluff in a 60-point blowout. But there may be somebody out there to try to step up to that plate. All right, we'll see how to process this as we move through the remainder of the month and maybe what could move and shake regarding that group. And obviously you get into the year and it won't end there, as Chris describes that situation and others that will come up where you got to dip into some things that may make it a little bit uncomfortable. But from a numbers standpoint, you really won't have, I don't guess, much of a choice. All right, Chris, appreciate the bonus time today. You got any bonus 5-star commitment or top-ranked Portal Edition episodes today? Anything we can come back just to maybe wash this down?
I wish, Cowan. I would love to. But this is, this is why you don't want to see emergency episodes from us. The other, I was trying to look it up real quick. Michael Henderson is another name internally. He's a DB now. He's one of your freshmen. He was some high school running back, I think, as well. So I wanted to make sure. Anyway, he was a two-way guy in high school, but yeah, I'd love some good recruiting news, man. I'd love to be able to tell you, but this is why you don't want to see emergency pods from us necessarily this time of year, because when we're giving you news, it maybe in this case may not be the best. But hey, man, we'll get through it together. I'm going to try to mope around a little bit and feel sorry for myself, and then try to figure out what's next, because I'm sure that's what they're saying over there. It's just part of the sport, man, and it's the part that sucks, but it's the reality.
Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, on drinks, on merch, on a bigger group if you want. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer it gets to first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. Gametime has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings, like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matches. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price, guaranteed.
The Big Ten keeps coming out with some crazy college football playoff expansion ideas.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners.
If you didn't think that the Big Ten 16-team, 4 automatic qualifiers for the Big Ten and the SEC, 2 automatic qualifiers for the ACC and the Big 12, and then 1 to the Group of 5 and 1 to Notre Dame, if you didn't think that playoff scenario, that playoff expansion format wasn't crazy enough, well, they decided to go ahead and one-up that. The Big Ten last week was reportedly in discussions about proposing a playoff format that would be 24 or 28 teams, eliminate conference championship games, and allocate a large number of automatic bids to the Power 4 conference, including the Big Ten, as many as 7 automatic bids to the power conferences. And Jay, I am at this point ready to go back to the BCS or the polls to decide the national championship, because getting to 24 or 28 teams to me is ludicrous at this point.
So basically it sounds like they want to eliminate conference championships, and that to me is a complete hard stop.
Non-starter.
non-starter whatsoever. Conference championships to me is the backbone of college football, especially because you got too many teams. Look, there is no perfect system. There never will be one. Why? There's too many teams to try to determine this. And the other big problem I have with this is that you're going to put 7 teams in from the two biggest conferences. Understood, they're considered the best, but so what's the point of having the other teams? Why do we have the group of 6? Again, if we are going to do anything close to that remotely, G6 needs to have their own playoff system. They need to have their own setup. They need to do their own thing. They should not be involved with FBS like this. It should be into 2 tiers, and they have their own, similar to like D2, D3 type setup. Specifically because everybody's trying to find more and more ways for them to never get a chance. Sure, you may feel like they would never be able to compete. That is totally fine. In football, it's very hard to have a Cinderella because in the end, it's usually the healthiest and the strongest that typically wins it all. 100% agree. But John, this is absurd. Like, why are we going to try to eliminate? To me, if you want to go that route, make it that way. Have a playoff system where you lead to the conference championship, and then whoever wins the conference championship is the one that plays in the final portion of whatever your playoffs are. We got to stop ignoring the G6s, in my personal opinion, because then, to me, again, why do they exist? What is the value of it?
Yeah, if you're going to not give them access, or you're going to overemphasize some middle of the pack teams in the Big Ten and the SEC, then get rid of the playoff altogether, because let's look at who were the 7th place teams in the Big Ten and in the SEC. Tied for 7th in the Big Ten, Michigan with an 8-4 record, 8-5. I guess they were 7-5, and then they won their bowl game, so they were 8-5 on the season. But they were 5-4 in Big Ten play. Minnesota was also 8-5, 5-4 in Big Ten play. Does anybody care to see them get another opportunity at the playoff? No, nobody does. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Do we want to see Iowa?
Yeah, well, let's look at the SEC, okay? So if we want to take even Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina off the table because they were like the next 3 teams that were in consideration for the 12-team playoff last year. But again, they finished 9-3, 9-3, 9-3. But Missouri, they were 10-3 on the season. Okay, they went 5-3 in SEC play. Texas A&M 5-3 in SEC play. Do we want LSU 5-3 in SEC play? Do they need another opportunity at a national championship? No, they do not. And I get it. Ohio State, they lost a game to Michigan and they got another chance at the national championship. Okay, but that's a little bit different, okay? Because they were still one of the better teams in college football. They lost their rivalry game, lost in the Big Ten championship, but they still had to get to the Big Ten championship. I have no interest in seeing a 4-loss team. And really, I don't have much interest in seeing a 3-loss team make the playoff. Even if it's Oklahoma this year, I would not love that.
No, it wouldn't be interested in that at all. Like, I want the top teams to play, and I don't want more football just for the sake of more football. I think that's the thing that people don't understand. Once you get more into the December range, I'm not here for just football to have it. All these teams are beat up. These players are beat up. I would like for it to be better quality. I want the top teams to battle it out to end the season. Like, I'm exhausted at that point. Like, I'm thoroughly enjoying every minute of it, but I'm tired. I know that it's so. If in a perfect world, John, the national championship will be on January 1st, and it would rotate between different sites. It will be the evening of that day, or it will be the Saturday around it, or the first Saturday after the first. Because to me, I think the biggest malpractice in college football is having a national championship on a Monday night.
Yeah.
Period.
Hate that.
I hate it. Put it on a Saturday. Make it huge. It'll be a lot easier for everybody to travel and get there. I mean, sure, you take off work, whatever. It's around the holidays. So most people ain't working anyway. Totally get that. Cool. Cool beans. Give me some Saturday night action. I know it will be live. So do it around the Saturday of the 1st or on the 1st. That to me is probably the best case scenario every single year. And then some of the college football purists out there, as they would call themselves, they'll have it at the Rose Bowl occasionally. That would be awesome. I'm totally here for that. But I don't want it to always be at the Rose Bowl. No. I want it to move around continuously. I want it to maintain in your Big Six, from the Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, down to the Cotton Bowl in Texas. Well, it's at Cowboy Stadium or 18, whatever. I don't know what it is. Jerry's Circus, we'll call it that. Yeah. But go around to the Sugar Bowl, Peach Bowl, or the Orange Bowl. Give me that. I'm here for it. But we need to, for real, if you're going to do all of this crazy stuff, you better make sure the brackets are set up to where it ends around that time. I don't want to go further into January. I don't want that. That is the worst. I want it done right around when winter starts. And that, to me, is the perfect time for college football.
Yeah, if we're going to expand it to 24, 28 teams, and you're going to add 2 to maybe 3 more rounds to the playoff, then you're going to have to start cutting non-conference games.
Yep.
Because you're going to start asking these players to play 20 football games in a season to go win a national title, or 18. To me, that's nonsensical, and it doesn't make sense. I think you're right. The season needs to be from last weekend of August for week 0 until January 1. Call it good. Or if you want to have the semifinals on January 1 and then that next Saturday, the national championship, fine. But you're right. College football is built for Saturdays or for New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. That's when it should really all come to a head, and it would be a momentous occasion. Monday night college football national championships or Thursday night semifinal games just does not hit the same way. So unless it's a New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. But anyway, digression. So anyway, I don't love it. I think 12 is the right number. I don't even like the idea of 16 at this point. I'd even be okay with them going back to 8, to be honest. I know that would sometimes impact Oklahoma's ability to make the college football playoff and have an opportunity for a national title. But if you go 9-3 on the season, do you deserve to play for a national championship?
That part. If you go 9-3 in the season, do you deserve to play in the Natty? And in my personal opinion, no, you shouldn't.
You don't.
It is what it is. That's how college football is, baby.
And I'm sorry for being an advocate for college football playoff expansion at this point.